We are live. We are live over at One Crazy House. Hello, my name is Kim. I'm from Farmhouse Craftaholics here on Facebook, the DIY Farmhouse Crafting resource page, where we bring you tutorials, we bring you other guest crafters. And today I'm bringing you an interview with Michelle from My Designs in the Chaos, who's going to talk to us about all things Cricut and Silhouette. You know those cutting machines, those mysterious cutting machines you see at Michael's that make all the fabulous signs and stuff like that? Michelle is your go-to woman for that. So I am here to be your voice. And when you hop on, if you would start asking questions, we would love to hear what you have to say. So Michelle, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good. Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here. Like you mentioned, my name is Michelle, and I'm from My Designs in the Chaos. Over at our page and our blog, it's our goal to develop, encourage, and grow crafting talents and confidence. And so it's really just fun, and we love to do that using our cutting machine. And so today, I'm actually going to be creating a sign with you guys. And so I'm going to kind of be walking you through the process. We're not going to actually cut the vinyl live. I have it pre-cut, but I'm going to walk you through the entire process of painting onto this sign. So I'm super excited about it.
I am. I've done it, but I know a lot of people haven't, and it's a big mystery to a lot of people.
It is. So let me go ahead and angle you guys down, and we'll go ahead and dive right in, and we will get started.
Okay.
So let me angle you down. There we go. So y'all can kind of see. Let me see here. Okay, there we go. And then as always, if you're watching, I always love, give us a like, a heart. That helps tell us that you can see us and that you can hear us. And
this is all very technical.
Exactly.
And that's not our strength. Our strength is creativity.
Yes. So the very first thing that I'm doing here is I'm using a stencil today. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to weed out the design. And when I say weed, what that means is I'm removing everything out of the design where I want my paint to go on my sign. Ooh. So anywhere I want paint, that's where I'm going to pull out. Okay. And so that's kind of just what I'm doing now is I'm weeding out the design.
So we can see the word weak.
Yes, exactly. I try to angle it towards y'all so you can see it.
That's
I don't
awesome.
know if it's backwards on exactly. I don't know if it's backwards on Facebook Live or not. Sometimes it shows up backwards.
It's good in StreamYard. It's the right way.
Oh, cool. Nice.
We are using StreamYard, everybody. And I can see there's it looks like 50 people are watching us, 53.
Yay. Where are you guys watching from?
Make a comment. I promise you we won't put you on the screen or anything.
Where are you watching from? If you're here, where are you watching from? And what's the weather like where you are? For me today, it's a little bit muggy. It's kind of like not real cold, not real hot, but just kind of like you walk outside and you feel kind of like, oh, it's kind of misty and muggy where I am.
Oh, now we're getting some. Christine. Oh, she's from my page. Okay. Awesome. Thank you, Christine. That helps.
Hey, Christine.
Oh, look, when I post it says it's from One Crazy House. Tell us where you're from.
Hey, so Christine, I think you asked what type of vinyl I'm using. So I am actually using stencil vinyl. This is called Oramask 813. And I love to use this because it's a little bit thinner than actual vinyl. It tears a little bit easier, and it's actually made for signs. So that's what I'm using.
Okay, now is it sticky or not?
It is. It's adhesive. Since we're going to stick it onto the board to use as our stencil, it is sticky on the back.
So this comes out of your Cricut, like you put it in your Cricut and you get it to do all this fancy cutting stuff?
Exactly. So what I did is I opened up my design software and I typed out exactly what I wanted it to say. And I'm making you can see I'm making a chore chart for my children.
Smart.
So,
one of those.
Yes, and so I'm making that. And so all I did is I just picked whichever font I wanted and I typed out their names. And then I loaded this vinyl into my cutting machine and I had it cut out all of these different letters and words.
All right. And then you're going to make your kids' chore chart.
Exactly.
And they're going to wonder why they let you have that machine.
Exactly. They're going to be like, Mom, why are you making me do this?
Oh, no, not the chores.
So the frame that we're going to be putting this on, that I'm painting it on, is actually, I painted it with a chalkboard paint. And so that way I can kind of use I'm going to put this in permanent paint so that their names stay, but then I can rotate through whatever I write next to their name of whatever chore they have that particular week.
Awesome. Hi, Teresa. I see you. Hi, Nancy. Hi, Christine. It's good. I'm glad you're all showing up here. I was a little concerned.
Yay. Hey, guys.
I know you're surprised on One Crazy House, but this is something that we'll be able to do on a little more regular basis. One of the owners told us that we could definitely come on here and do this. So we're sharing our resources. We're collaborating with One Crazy House on things like this, like DIY crafting. So Michelle is the DIY crafter extraordinaire with Cricut and Silhouette machines, and she's showing us. So Michelle, yes. I know that you can buy these like at Michael's.
Yeah.
And what should we look for if we decide this might be for us? What should we go buy, or what do we need?
Well,
do we need a computer? Do we need a phone, iPad? What do we need?
Good question. Well, I think the first thing is you have to decide if you're going to have a Cricut or if you're going to have a Silhouette, because those are the two main brands of cutting machines. Mm-hmm. And whenever you have both of those two. And so you have, my advice always, whenever you're first trying to decide which one you want, is to look at their design software. You can make a free account for both a Silhouette and a Cricut. Oh. And when you make a free account, go in and play with the design software and see which one you like the most. And whichever one speaks to you and you're most comfortable in, that's the one I suggest you go with.
So that you can play with the lettering and make like a little design that,
you can go in there, you can kind of, just mess around and kind of see which one looks good to you. Yeah. Now, what I'm doing right now is I've weeded out my design. As you can see, I have all my kids' names on here. It's going to say weekly chores. Yep. And what I'm doing now is I'm taking transfer tape, which is the tape that I'm going to put on the top, and then that's how I transfer this design onto the board I'm actually going to paint.
That's so those little letters like the O's and stuff will stay where they're supposed to?
Yep, exactly. So everything will stay exactly where it's supposed to go. Okay. Now, Christine, I think, asked, is it best to seal the wood before using the vinyl or not?
Right.
And if you use a canvas, what vinyl would you use? So if you're using wood, I would definitely not seal it if you're going to paint it. If you're going to paint the wood, like paint a stencil like what I'm doing right now, I wouldn't seal it before you paint, because then it just it makes it really slick and there's nowhere to be able to the paint to adhere to. So I would definitely not do that. But once you paint it, you can absolutely seal it. And then for using a canvas, I would use heat transfer vinyl just because it sticks really well. And that just means that it's not sticky on the back until it gets hot. And so that's what that type of vinyl is.
And that you need an iron or something.
Yes, exactly. You need a really hot surface to be able to like adhere it to whatever item it is you're adhering it to. Mm-hmm. And so all I'm doing now is I'm just taking the transfer tape and I am applying it onto my stencil so that I can move it from here to there without it getting messed up.
That's good.
So,
and you can sort of see through that paper.
Yeah, so there's lots of different types of transfer tape. You can have clear, you can have, there's like ones with grid lines. This particular one is called paper transfer tape. Yep. I absolutely love it because as you can see, I can just rip it with my hands just like a piece of paper. And so it's not 100% transparent, but it's, you can kind of see through it enough to be able to place it.
I think you can see enough, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And especially because it's blue, you can really, it stands out really nicely.
And that 813 is a little bit transparent too, is it not?
Exactly, it is. Yeah. And now what I ended up doing is I cut it in the square that's the size of my board, so that way I don't have to worry about it being centered. So it will just line up directly inside my actual board. Okay. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take the backing off of the stencil.
Yeah.
And make sure everything's kind of pressed down on there.
That's what that sticky transfer tape's for, isn't it?
Exactly. To make sure all the little insides of your letters, all that kind of stuff stays on the inside.
Stay where you put it.
We're going to remove this. And then the back of your stencil is sticky. And so you just want to be careful because it's super sticky and you don't want it to like fold up on each other. So I'm just going to pull off this backing. And then now we're going to, I want to make sure I have it on the right side of my sign. So I already have the hook on the back of my sign. So I want to make sure that when I put this on here, that it's on the right side. And then I'm just going to center this square directly into my board. And place it right there in the middle.
Christine wants to know if you made the board, and what wood would you use if you did?
Yes, so I made the board itself. I made the frame, and I like to use common board. And you can find that at your local hardware store. I made the board, and then the frame itself is made from what's called furring strips, F-U-R-R-I-N-G.
This sounds like a trip to Home Depot.
Yeah, exactly. You can get them from Home Depot, Lowe's, anything like that.
Yeah.
So, yep. And so now I'm flattening out the stencil onto my board.
Yeah.
Flatten that out on there. And then I'm going to remove the transfer tape.
Okay.
So, oh, thank you, Mandy. You're so sweet.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to pull this transfer tape off. Let me scoot it over. Sorry, I'm adjusting to having like the, put it right in the middle, move it around a little bit.
We're figuring it out. Hey,
there we
we're
go.
still learning too at this point in the crafting game. So if we're still learning, you can certainly do it, you know?
Absolutely.
Like we are learning the tech today, which is new to both of us.
Yes.
And, you know, we got on and sound wasn't working. We figured it out, and then we came on with you guys. So, you know what? I was watching a thing the other day. Was talking about aging well, and one of the things that's really good for the brain is to try new things, because our brain is a novelty-seeking item, and it's a muscle. And when you try new things and make it work like this, then you actually do yourself a favor for your health.
That's true.
How's that for arts and crafts?
There you go. We're getting a little science lesson too.
Yeah. Oh, I'm into everything.
Once I've removed the transfer tape, all I'm going to do is I'm going to go back over the stencil and just press it down to make sure it has a good seal there on each one of the letters. And so that's what I'm doing right now is I'm just making sure it's completely sealed so that there's no bleeds on there. Now, on the bottom of this board, you'll see it's black. That's actually chalkboard paint so that I can actually go back and I can write each of my kids' chores on here, and I can flip them out every single week.
So they won't have a permanent chore.
Exactly. And so what I'm using today is I'm just using some chalk paint. I personally prefer chalk paint to acrylic paint. This is the other option. And I prefer that just because it's a lot thicker. I find that my projects bleed a little bit less whenever I'm using the chalk paint. So all I'm going to do is I'm just going to put a little bit of chalk paint over here on the side, and then I'm going to spread it out across my design. And I'm just using like a little sponge brush today. And I'm going to just get it a little bit wet with paint. Not a lot. You just want a little bit, just a tiny bit. And then you can kind of like, I covered this part with a stencil, and I did that on purpose so that I can kind of like dab over here on the side to make sure I don't have a giant blob of paint that ruins my design. And so now, once it's good, I'm just going to go on here and I'm just going to slowly dab all across my entire, the whole sheet of vinyl. I'm just going to put the paint on. And so dab, dab, dab. And you don't want to like brush and push it down, because that's again where the paint will start to seep out.
Yeah,
so just gently dab.
I teach stenciling too, and one of the things I say is that you have to remember that the wood has pores.
Oh yeah.
And so if you push too much paint on it, it's going to like leak under the pore. Like even though it's well sealed, it can get to that pore and kind of slide down the wood.
Exactly. That's so true. So what do you use as your stencil?
I use reusable stencils, and I use a cutting machine to make them.
Okay.
So I've hacked my I've hacked my Cricut, or my Silhouette actually. I hacked it so badly that I wound up having to buy a commercial cutter.
How funny.
Yeah, but I teach stenciling in that way. I've done painting parties for 3 years with that, just reusable stencils.
Cool.
So you can do it both ways, and I love seeing a new way.
Yeah, that's really fun.
Not much paint, just light dabs. It's always the same, you know?
Exactly. And what's also really fun when you're painting, the part that I really love too, is you can make it look really distressed, or you can make it look really solid. You know, if you want it to be solid, just you'll go back over it multiple times rather than just putting a whole bunch at one time. But that distressed look is so in style right now, and doing this paint technique is a great way to kind of get that look.
Yeah, it's going to look kind of chalkboardy too, I think, on this, eh?
Yeah.
When it's nice and light like that?
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
So, Michelle, what else can you make besides signs with the Cricut?
So really, it's
Silhouette?
anything that you want to cut. So you can use, you can cut paper, you can cut, depending on what cutting machine you have, because there are various like levels of cutting machines.
Yeah.
But you can cut paper, you can cut vinyl, you can cut, I think on some of them you can even cut like chipboard. And I know there are some people that even use their cutting machines to decorate cakes, because you can do the fondant and stuff on there. You can cut fabric, you can do, I mean, there's so many options. Really, the sky is the limit with what you want to end up making. It's just for all those really intricate things that you can't necessarily get that look with scissors, you know? I mean, I would not be able to write out these names like this by hand.
That's why I got my machine.
Exactly. And you know, there are some people who are super talented who can do that, but I cannot even draw a stick person. And so
I can draw, but my handwriting's okay.
Right.
It's never made me happy when I put my handwriting on a sign after I've done all the work and then written on it with my hand. I'm like, I don't know. I don't like that.
I know. I'm already debating when I write their chores on here. How am I going to do that? Because that's not going to look very attractive. Exactly.
True. And it just takes the thing up a whole nother level, doesn't it?
It really does. And so you can actually, so you can cut a ton of different things. And then what's fun is you can apply what you cut to a million different things. So let's say you cut vinyl with your cutting machine. You can apply that vinyl. You can use adhesive vinyl to do like a sign or something like that. Or you could use heat transfer and you can make shirts, you can make hats, you can make socks, you can make, I mean, anything that your little heart desires, you can create yourself. And that's what I love about it, is that, you know, the only bounds you have is your own imagination. I mean, that's really so true. So
yeah. And if you're all wondering, Michelle is an expert in the Cricut and the Silhouette. She does have on her page, when you follow her, she has her page and then a group as well, a great big giant helpful group full of people using these machines. There's like how many 100,000 people in that group now?
Yes, I believe we are at 112 or 112 or something like that.
Wow.
Yeah.
And they're all people just like you who are interested and who at various levels, but she teaches a course for absolute, you just got it out of, you just bought it and brought it home out of the box very inexpensively. So you don't have to worry, what am I supposed to do next with this thing?
Yes, exactly.
And
take the overwhelm away.
Yes, absolutely. Like take you through the very basics step by step so that you can make a t-shirt, or you can make a sign, or you can make a, I'm not even sure what, you know, what would be a possibility, but you would at least not be confused.
Exactly. Okay, so you guys can see now at this point that it's getting pretty covered up. And now I could go, I'm going to show you guys a closer look. Y'all can see how it's covered up. But the thing is, I could probably go back again, but I wanted to have that chalkboard-esque look. And so I'm going to kind of leave it at this stage. And now what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to peel the vinyl up. And so since I always like to do it when it's a little bit damp, just because at that point, I don't have to worry that the paint is going to peel, because it's still just a tad bit damp. And this is always the most fun part for me, is like the reveal of what does it actually look like, you know? So, and so you can see, this is another reason why I like to use Aura Mask. See how it's kind of ripping away? It's a lot thinner than actual vinyl. Because, and that's the purpose of that. When you're peeling it up, you want it to tear away like that. You don't want it to get stuck and, you know, ruin your design, you know? So, so that's what I'm doing now, is I'm just going to kind of rip away all of the sections, and y'all can see that crisp, clean line. It turned out pretty nicely on there.
Very nicely.
And then what I'll do is I'll go back through and I'll remove all the insides of the letters. So all the O's, all the E's, all that kind of stuff. And you just want to be careful, because when you have little pieces like this that have paint on them, remember it's still damp. So if you get it on your fingers, make sure you wipe that off before you keep touching your sign again. Otherwise, it'll get everywhere. And so I think too, you'd actually be surprised at how little paint you actually need for a project like this. I mean, it's just a tiny, tiny amount. I always tend to over pour, and then I have to put it back into my jar at the very end. I don't know if that's the right way to do it or not, but
I like I said, I've taught a lot of painting parties, and I have them say like a quarter size, if that, like actually probably like a nickel. right?
Yeah.
An entire sign in any color is all you're ever going to need.
Wow.
Really, it's very, very, very little paint. So it's good if you only have a tiny bit left and you want to use it up. It's great.
Exactly. Exactly.
This
So
looks
here we
amazing,
are.
Michelle.
Yes. Okay. So we're taking up these last little pieces, and I think that is the rest of it. So here we go. We've got our weekly chore chart now.
Oh, you're
finished. Weekly chores, they are ready to go. I'm sure my kids are going to be so excited about this DIY that I have just now created.
Oh yeah, no doubt, no doubt at all.
Well, thank you so much for having me on here today. I really appreciate it. It's so fun. If you guys have questions about Cricuts or Silhouettes or are looking for some free files to get your machine out and going, please feel free to check us out here on Facebook.
Absolutely. Follow me, My Designs in the Chaos. You will not be sorry that if you get into this at all with these machines, that is the place to go. And for me, I'm just bringing resources. I love to bring tutorials. I do some tutorials. I bring other crafters onto my page, and then I do stuff like this where we do interviews with experts, so that you can find out if this might be for you. So thank you so much, Michelle.
Yes, thank you.
We're going to be ending the broadcast now, but if you would send this out to people that you think might need to see it so they can find Michelle or they can find me, we would love you forever. Cheers, everybody. Bye-bye.